Hey everyone, Gorzik here. Welcome to another episode of Let's Play Ys I and II Chronicles Plus for the PC. Last time we explored the abandoned mine of Raston. We found a couple more stolen silver items down there, and we also came across our third book of Ys. We had Jebba translate the books that we have found so far, and she told us that there are 6 of them in total, and that we could find the remaining 3 somewhere within Darm Tower. So she sent us off to Goban, the leader of the thieves and also her son, and he agreed to let us inside. Now, Jebba did say that this place was also called the Devil's Tower. Supposedly there's a bunch of traps here, and Goban himself tells us that there are pretty powerful enemies that killed off a good number of his crew, so sounds like a pretty dangerous place. Before I get to exploring the tower, I do want to point out that as of a couple days ago, Chronicles Plus now has mouse support. Originally, Chronicles Plus did not have mouse support. The Eternal Incomplete versions did, but Chronicles Plus never did, despite being on the PC. I believe the reason for this is because Plus here is based off of Chronicles. Chronicles was initially released for the PlayStation Portable, which obviously does not have mouse support. But thanks to Sarah, one of Xseed's programmers, it has finally been re-implemented. So aside from moving around, you can also navigate menus with the mouse, you can equip items, and you can also use the right mouse button to use whatever you have equipped. So if you wanted to use a mirror or a potion on the fly, then pretty easy to do so. Ys 2 is supposed to be able to click a button to use items as well. However, I don't think that has been implemented into Plus just yet. But still, pretty neat. I am just going to play with the keyboard still. I find it easier primarily to attack enemies off-center. I find that hard to do with a mouse or a controller. Another thing Sarah added was a different border for the complete style. So, Chronicles initially just had one view. It never had the complete border. But when Chronicles Plus was released, Sarah made a lot of little touch-ups to the game. One of those touch-ups was being able to have complete style borders again. However, she also recently added a new border, this golden one. This is from the Eternal version of the game. So that's pretty cool. Ys 2 does have a slightly different border for complete as well, but it's not golden, it's more grayish, I think. But still, pretty neat. So, shoutouts to Sarah for that. Anyways, the tower. This place is pretty big. It has 25 floors, and while I know that sounds like a lot, it's honestly not that bad. Because most of the time you're just making your way from one floor to the other, with not much in between aside from killing enemies, or the occasional chest. So, it's really not as bad as it seems. It can be a little confusing, but I recommend having your status displayed on screen if you're not doing that already. That will tell you what floor you're on. Regarding the enemies here in the tower, I will primarily be avoiding them because we're already max level, and the only reason to kill them is just to get a full bestiary, learn all the enemy stats, and I don't feel like doing that, so if you want to, though, you're more than welcome to, of course. This passage here leads to the basement of Darm Tower. Nothing down there except some jail cells, and nothing we can do there at the moment. So for now, head down from the entrance. This passage here, I'll get to that in a bit, but first we want to head to the far right, and up here, to floor 2. This takes us out to a balcony. If you remember, one of Goban's lackeys said that the balconies would be our safe spot from the monsters. And as you may have seen just now, I got healed. That's not because I have the heal ring on, you can do it without the heal ring too. So if you don't feel like wasting a potion, then just wait out here for a few minutes and let yourself get healed. So the balcony screens, to navigate these, it really doesn't matter which direction you go in. They loop around indefinitely in either direction, so it doesn't matter if you go right or if you go left. You'll reach the next floor regardless. I usually prefer going left, but whichever you want to do. So, down here, some enemies here. In this room here, these stationary enemies, all you need to do is just to line up with this wall here and head straight left. They will not pose much of an issue at all. So there's a few chests here, but all we really need is this one right here that contains the evil ring. Now, the evil ring obviously is not good. As you can see, the description says that it slowly kills its wearer. Indeed, it does do that. So, do not put it on at this point. Because if you do put it on, you won't be able to take it off. It'll be stuck to your finger and you'll just get a game over. Nothing you can really do about it. So, the only reason we have this is because it is needed to complete a puzzle later on here, so. For the time being though, just don't mess with it. If you really must know what it does, then save your game first. These other chests are not necessary, but this one here contains a mirror. If you don't have one already, it is pretty helpful later on in the tower, because there is one floor in particular where the corridors are really cramped and filled with enemies, so having a mirror really helps there. This other chest up top here contains a tower. If you didn't buy one from Sloth, or get a free one from Sloth rather, or you didn't buy one in Manea, then you can also grab one from this chest here. However, I am not going to do that. I don't feel it's really worth it. But if you're missing the tower and you want it, then feel free to grab it. In the Eternal version of the game, though, you don't get the tower from that chest. The chest will be empty. And if you already have the tower, then the chest will be empty regardless. So something they added into the complete version of the game. And you might wonder why they added the third set of equipment here in the tower. Well, that will become obvious in a little bit here. But for now, let's make our way back down to the first floor, into this passage we avoided earlier. Up here, going up these stairs takes us to the second floor. The enemy I just killed really likes to troll. Sometimes he can get down in this passage here. And when we go up this next set of stairs, we are on the third floor. So one cool thing about the balcony screens is that you get a neat view of Asteria. So you can see the river and that pond in the top left there. Yeah, that's the Manea Plains, where we found the golden vase from the pond earlier. So that's pretty neat. The further up the tower you go, the more you'll get to see too. So on the third floor here, we have this weird row of statues. Nothing we can really do here at the moment, but to keep this floor in mind for a little bit later. We'll be coming back to it. On the fourth floor here, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can go into this middle passage here. Up here, and this chest contains the third level body armor, the Reflex. So again, why do we need this when we have the silver armor? That will become obvious shortly. But for now, let's head up to the fifth floor. This middle passage here takes us to floor 6. There are actually two different parts to floor 6. This passage I just went in is optional, but over here there is a room with a unique enemy type, so if you're looking to completely fill out your bestiary, these enemies here, it's the only place you can find them. And also, over here, in this chest, contains a large shield, the 3rd level shield. I'm not going to get it. I don't feel it is particularly helpful, but if you want it, then you are welcome to get it if you don't have it already. But for now, I am going to head back to floor 5. And to the far left here is the other part of floor 6, the western portion. This is where we need to go. Down here to the statues. Yep, it's a trap. We are in a prison cell. Not only that, some of our belongings are missing too. Any guesses as to what? Yep, the silver equipment was stolen from us. Someone really doesn't want us to have that. So that's the reason why the 3rd level stuff is in the tower. Again, if you're playing the Eternal version of the game, those chests are empty, so you would need to have bought them from Minea beforehand. The reason I didn't get the 3rd level sword and shield is because we will actually find those again very shortly, so not a big deal to be without them. Hey, Ludogema, what's he doing here? Yep, he was sleepwalking. Got surrounded by monsters, but they captured him, threw him in here. If you want to, you can talk with him again, but you only need to do it the one time here. He mentions that he ran into someone else in here, near a row of statues, but then he suddenly disappeared. So that's rather curious. Anyways, we need to find a way out of here. Maybe these bars? Nope, they're too strong. If you check this wall, nope, it's too strong too. And down here, nope, no window or drains. We are screwed. In all seriousness though, all you need to do is wait. And this fella shows up. If he's not showing up, you need to search for at least one way out of the cell, and you also need to talk to Ludogema. So, this here is Dogi. If you've played Ys games before, then you've likely met him. And yes, he did just punch down that wall. He has a habit of doing that. And he also mentions this, the hallway with the row of statues, and confirms that someone is indeed hiding there. Apparently he's been here for a while, so we should talk with him. Fortunately, we do not need to escort Ludo with us throughout this place. That would be quite painful. But no, he'll stick to the shadows. When you try to leave, Dogi here asks us to give the old man an idol. Something that he dropped. Now, the idol he just gave us is basically just a bonus item. However, if you equip it, it allows you to turn invisible. Unfortunately, you can't talk to NPCs like this, but it does help you to avoid the enemies, so I recommend equipping it. Unfortunately, we will not have it for long, though. Anyways, let's head back to the 3rd floor, to where that row of statues was. this room here. So, nothing unusual here, so what gives? Well, if you remember, the Mask of Ys reveals secret passages. So, equip that, and when you do, this doorway here appears. Head inside, and unequip the Mask of Ys, because that does make enemies as well as NPCs invisible to you. And here is Rhea. Now, do you remember I spoke with the tour guide in Manea's bar? He said that he was escorting a curious old man around. He was wanting to explore the shrine in Darm Tower. Yep, that's Rhea here. He got stuck here when the monsters appeared 6 months ago. He has managed to survive this long thanks to his idol, keeping him invisible. So, we learn a little bit more about Ys here. They have a lot of magical stuff, including a silver-like metal. That is the Claria referred to in one of the books of Ys, by the way. So he mentions a storm wall, or something like it, appeared when Ys disappeared. So the reason for that, back then, was to keep everyone trapped here, so the monsters could kill them all off. So, it reappearing here nowadays is pretty ominous. Yep, someone has indeed set traps here, so... So, he gives us the blue necklace. What this does is it nullifies the traps that we'll come across. So, the trap that sent us to the jail cell, we can now get past it. Before you equip that, though, you need to use the Mask of Ys to leave this room. So, once you're out, quickly unequip the Mask of Ys and put on the blue necklace. Let's head back to the western part of floor 6. Gotta get healed here real quick. So, yeah, as I said, this place is 25 floors high, but you can see we're already on floor 5, soon to be floor 6. Yeah, it's really not that bad. Making pretty good progress through here. So here you will want to make sure the blue necklace is actually equipped. Just having it in your inventory does not work. So if you don't have it equipped, you'll just get sent right back to the jail cell. But we do have it, so let's move on to the next floor. on this floor, you can head up to floor 8, but before you do that, there is something very important that you need to get. In this passage here, stationary enemy, bump him out of the way, and there's someone behind him too, so. This chest here contains our stolen silver sword. You absolutely need this to finish the game, so be certain that you find it again. Let's equip it. And those enemies sometimes will troll. I was lucky that they didn't there. But sometimes I do like to clog that narrow passage. In this room here is Dogi. You don't need to speak with him if you don't want to. It's completely optional at this point. So if you talk with Dogi again, he mentions a rod, much like Sarah's crystal. And that we'll need it to get to the top of the tower. And he apparently heard about this from Jebba. Anyways, now that we have the silver sword, let's head up to floor 8. On this floor, two options here. You can head up to floor 9, the western part of it, and up there is the stolen silver shield. Down and to the left is the next boss, so you can actually get the silver shield before facing the boss if you want to. However, I feel comfortable enough that I don't need it, so I am going to skip it for the time being. I will get it later though. This passage here, nothing up here, just a dead end. Up here, head inside this door, get fully healed if you need to, and save the game. Because this is a boss room, if the bones strewn about weren't hint enough. So, touch the door when you're ready, and this guy appears. This guy is Pictomos. He will throw out these scythes at you constantly. What you'll want to do is you'll want to wait for him to throw out all of the scythes. He has 3 of them. They eventually boomerang back to him, and on Nightmare at least, when he gets them back, he will immediately throw them out again. So you want to wait until they are all out at the same time before moving into attack. If you don't wait for them to all be out, then there's a good chance he'll do a good bit of damage to you. So, one thing you can do is lure the scythes to the wall. They'll get stuck there. So if you're having trouble having all 3 out at the same time, that might help you. But this battle is definitely one of patience, so don't get greedy. Just take it slow. Being a bit of a troll here. Nope, not going for that one. Nope, not going for it. Yep, and as long as you play it patiently, he's pretty easy. But if you are finding him difficult, then you are welcome to get the silver shield on the next floor and face him with that. You can't get your silver armor before this boss, so the reflex is the best you can do as far as body armor goes. Anyways, let's see what's in the chests. Book of Ys. Now, if you remember, Jebba translated them for us. So, obviously she's not with us, so we don't have a way to read them just yet. And in the other chest is a hammer. Okay, let's go to the other part of floor 9. Up here. And by the way, I believe up top there, that is the city of Minea. It might be Barbado, I'm not sure, but I believe it's Minea, so pretty cool view of that. Down here is just a dead end, so head off to the left, this doorway here. In this passage there tends to be one of these enemies. I was fortunate that they weren't clogging it up. Down here is the passage to the next floor, but we want to head up here first. Bump the enemy out of the way and get this chest here. Contains our stolen silver shield. Now once you get the stolen silver shield, the statues quickly come to life, so equip it right away and get out of there. If you want to, you can use a mirror if you feel it necessary, because those statues are kind of a pain in the butt. So, speaking of the statues, I believe that is the only place where you can find them. So if you're looking to fill out the bestiary, then that's where you find them at. Up here is where we need to go. I'll get there in a bit. But if you head down here, you will find a trap. In here, oh boy. So, see the music's changed to something a little bit creepier. And you can also see there are veins on the walls inside here. So, what happens when we go in? Yep, our HP gets drained. So I ran into this little doorway real quickly here. That's our safe spot. And inside is Rhea. So the monsters broke his idol, so he needs to play it safe from now on. Now, this corridor here, as you saw, the Devil's Corridor, as he calls it, drains the life out of you. Now, he's suggesting that we're young and strong, so maybe we could make it. However, we won't be able to. He gives us a full heal, actually, so that's kind of him. But even at full health, and even with a heal potion, you cannot make it to the end of this without disabling the trap. Because the further right you go, the faster your health drains, and it's pretty far to get to the end of the passage. Not only that, there is a door which I believe is locked, so even if you did make it to the end, you would still be screwed. Anyways, if you talk to Rhea again, he gives you a hint on how to disable the trap. The music is caused by the wind, he thinks. That it's filtered in through one of the pillars on the balcony. Something akin to a pipe organ. So if we can figure out where it's coming in from, we can smash it and make it stop. So, up here, up to floor 11 here. So out here, you might not notice, but these pillars are actually different from the ones on other balconies. So, as Rhea said, something like a pipe organ. Now, it's impossible to tell which pillar it is exactly, so you just need to kind of guess, but it's the 1 second from the left. Equip the hammer, and then use it. And smash the second one from the left, and that will stop the music. Now, further left, you don't need to go here, but I will. Or you don't need to go here yet, I should say. There's a trail of blood. Follow it. And loot a gemma. He's not looking too good. We don't need to speak with him yet, but we will later. So he was hanging out with Rhea, but then the monsters found him. So apparently a young girl was taken into the Annex, a side portion of the tower here. So he wants us to go and rescue her. So, let's head back to floor 10. And back through the Devil's Corridor. I better equip the timer ring. Down here, just a dead end. So, the music is now stopped. If you poke your head in here, Rhea's gone, so he's moved on ahead. But yeah, interesting trap though, being killed by devilish music. Pretty unique. Floor 12, there's really nothing of interest here, honestly. All you need to do is just make your way through it. 213. Gonna let myself get healed. So here is Rhea. Looks like he's been injured too. Yep, I stopped the music for you. And he also mentions the side portion of the tower, Rhea's Annex. And it seems like there is a young girl being held there, same as Luda Gemma just told us. So apparently the door can only be opened by someone evil. So how do we get in? Down here, there's this mysterious mirror, but nothing we can do with it yet. So, for now, just head to the left, up the stairs, and here we can see it is starting to turn dark. If you remember, Goban told us we had a time limit of 1 day to find the books of Ys in here. Yep, looks like that's running out. And the time limit is really just superficial. It will always happen once you get to floor 14. It doesn't actually run on a 24-hour thing, like if you kept the game open that long. So, in this door here, open it. You can see the floors coming apart here. So, get healed up if you need to, and save your game. When you're ready, touch the door up top. And this boss here. This boss can be pretty difficult. What you need to do is you need to run in circles around him. And the general idea is that he shoots rocks, and you'll want to run in circles the same way that he's shooting the rocks. So I believe he starts out shooting them counterclockwise, so you will want to run in the same direction. Then after a few seconds he'll start firing them clockwise. You will want to start running clockwise then. It does take good rhythm not to take a whole lot of damage there. If you're unlucky, you might get caught on one of the rocks and just take damage non-stop. But running in circles is the easiest way of dealing with him. It can be a bit of a damage race if you're unlucky, but just keep at it. In the Eternal version of the game, there is actually something really simple you can do. You can just use the walk function and walk in circles around him like that. Again, in the same direction that the rocks are going. In the Complete in Chronicles versions though, he fires his rocks just a little bit too fast for that to be an effective strategy, but in Eternal, if you apply that strategy, you can beat the boss without taking a single hit, so. Anyways, up here, we have the rod that Dogi told us was necessary to advance further on. If you want to, you can go and show this to him, but not at all necessary. And here we have yet another book of Ys, but still no way to actually know what it says. So let's head back to the floor where Rhea was. And we can see that it is now dark out, so yep, our time is running short. So, like Dogi said, the rod has a design similar to Sarah's crystal. So, much like Sarah's crystal activated the goddess statues to allow us to warp further into the shrine, the rod will activate the mirrors. So, touch the mirror, and it leads us to this mirror maze. It can be kind of confusing navigating the maze. This mirror will lead us to the exit, but there is something else we want first. So head all the way to the bottom, in this mirror here, down, and in this mirror here. These enemies are pretty tough, so avoid them, and into this mirror here. We have this chest guarded by an enemy, but in this version you can actually bypass him and just open the chest from the side. It contains our stolen silver armor. So let's go ahead and equip that. The reason an enemy is here is because in the Eternal version of the game, you actually have to open chests from the front. So that's why an enemy is guarding the chest. But for some reason, when they made Complete, they allowed you to open the chests from any angle, so that's pretty handy. That mirror takes us back to the beginning, so we have to go through the maze again. Into this mirror here, and we have a choice to make, left or right. Go right, and here, these passages, they don't actually lead us to where we need to go. So the way to exit the maze is simply just to touch the mirror we came from, and that takes us to the end. Kind of difficult to figure out at first, but yeah. That enemy does like to clog up that corridor, so he's being a dick. Floor 15. Over here is the way to floor 16. We'll get to that in a bit, but first you'll want to head down here and off to the left. There's this chest here. Open it, and it contains the battle shield. And if you noticed, a couple enemies actually warped in, so quickly equip the shield and either take care of them or just run away. I will run away. So the battle shield is stronger than the silver shield, however he will still want the silver shield. So up here is floor 17. We're not going to go there yet, because the Annex Luda and Rhea told us about is down here. Sometimes there will be an enemy in this corridor here, so be careful of that. And over here, where the light is coming in. This bridge here. And this is Rhea's Annex. Now, I believe this location might have been mistranslated, because there is no one, as far as I know, in the Ys series that is named Rhea, and you might be wondering, who the hell is Rhea? Why does he have an annex? Well, in the Japanese version of the game, this place is actually called the Tower of Lotto. In Spanish, I think, Lotto means side. and this tower is off to the side, separate from the main portion of the tower, so I think it simply means side tower. So I do believe Rado is not an accurate translation. I'm assuming it was called Rado instead of Lotto, just because it sounds cooler, but yeah. Interesting tidbit of information. These cells here, they just have bones in them, nothing to actually see or anything. Down here, in this little column of light here. Enter there, and up the stairs here, and we have this evil looking door. So, remember, Rhea told us that to rescue the girl, we need to be evil? Well, unfortunately, Adol is a goody two-shoes. So, what do? We do have the evil ring, but that kills us. However, we also have Rhea's blue necklace that nullifies traps. So, if we put that on, and then we put on the evil ring, we nullify the effects of the evil ring. And be certain that you do it in that order, the blue necklace first, and then the evil ring, because otherwise you will die. Anyways, touch the door, and it opens. And yeah, you get this neat little reddish effect when you have the evil ring on, although it can be kind of distracting. But once you open the door, take the evil ring off, and if you want to, take the necklace off too. However, make sure you take the evil ring off first. If you take off the necklace first, then you will die, so. And in here we have Rhea. What is she doing here? Yes, I remember. So, she says she let herself be captured, because there's something she really needs to tell us. So, Dark Fact locked her in here. The man in the black cape we have heard so much about. So obviously he does not have good things in mind. Indeed I do. So apparently Dark Fact is looking to acquire the books of Ys. So she gives us the monocle that will allow us to translate the books of Ys for ourselves. If you want to, talk to her again, and she says that Darm Tower is oddly familiar to her. That's rather curious. And now she gives us a hint about facing Dark Fact. His cape is made from Claria, the magical metal of Ys. So if we don't have equipment also made of Claria, we probably won't be able to defeat him. Okay, she gave us the monocle. Let's see what the books of Ys have to say. Equip it. If you want to, you can also equip the books of Ys along with it, but just the monocle equipped is enough. Use it, and you get this menu here. The Yellow Book, Volume Mesa. We have finally found ourselves cornered in the Temple of Salomon. The 6 great demons will be upon us soon. So they have decided to leave the land for now, and that hopefully they can return one day. But even though things are looking grim, not to lose hope, because a guide will come in the future. Okay, let's see what the Green Book has to say. Volume Gemma. He came, bringing his demon hordes with him, and the goddesses disappeared as well. So that's pretty ominous. It also mentions a line of Gemma. They know of a story about an amulet made of a blue crystal that supposedly has the power to destroy the demon's curses. Well, we know Luda Gemma. Maybe he knows something about this blue amulet? Let's go find him. I am going to equip the timer ring. And I'll unequip the monocle. It's kind of distracting. So head back down the stairs, and when you come out here, be careful because one of these enemies does kind of like to troll sometimes. And these enemies are fast, and this is with the timer ring equipped too. So at this point, you can advance further up the tower if you want to. However, I highly recommend against it. This is where you go further up, because near the top of the tower there is a door, and we need an item from Luda Gemma to open that door. So normally we're not supposed to know about this until we reach the top of the tower, but it's too much backtracking, so I'm just going to get it out of the way now. So to get back through the mirror maze, this mirror here, head up here, right here, and again we have the choice, left or right. This time, go left. Down here, to the left, and down in this passage here. And that takes us back to the beginning. If you want to, you can tell Rhea that you rescued the girl, but completely optional to do this. He does ask us to bring all the books of Ys to him when we find them all, but unfortunately we won't be able to comply with that request. Although Adol could at least let him view the ones we have now, but whatever. So we are going to head back to floor 11, back through the Devil's Corridor. Back down here. Yep, this enemy loves to clog up this passage here. Happens to me all the time. Fortunately, we got a stronger armor, so they don't pose much threat now, but still. So, up here, past where we smashed the pillar earlier. And down here. Let's talk to Luda Gemma. We tell him the girl is safe. And he says that even though he's never met her, he is terrified for her. So that's pretty unusual. And he recognizes Volume Gemma. It apparently belonged to his family. He says he lost it when he was younger, and his father told him that the one who finds all 6 books of Ys would be granted the power to bring peace to Asteria. And with that, he gives us the blue amulet. So, apparently this is not just a legend after all. Now, we need this to get to the top floor of the tower here, so make certain that you get it. If he's not handing it over, what you need to do is you need to read both volumes, Messa and Gemma. I know he specifically mentions Volume Gemma as belonging to his family, but you also need to read Volume Messa. It's just a safeguard to make sure that you actually finish the game with all 6 books of Ys. Otherwise, Volume Messa would serve no purpose, so. Now that we have the blue amulet, let's continue exploring the tower. Get healed here. Back to floor 16. So I know the backtracking sucks, but it's better to do it now rather than when you're on floor 25, so. back to the mirror maze. Okay. Alright. To floor 17. Now we can head up here. This floor, nothing down in this passage. Down here, there are enemies. Quite a few of them, as a matter of fact. This is why we want the mirror. If you don't have the mirror, you have to lure the enemies out of the passage as I just did. Or you can try to brute force your way through. You will need the power ring or the shield ring, and likely a heal potion as well. Because these guys are strong, and there's like 4 or 5 of them. But if you have a mirror, I just recommend using the mirror instead to freeze them, and that way you don't take damage from them. If you do brute force your way through, there is a heal potion up here in this chest, so that can be pretty helpful. Anyways, up here to the left, floor 18. On floor 18, we have a choice, down or to the right. You don't need to, but let's head to the right. And up here to floor 19. This leads us to a room with the battle armor. Not necessary, but it helps immensely for the upcoming boss. These enemies here, the Cryolosis, I believe they're called, are the only place where we can find them. So if you want a full bestiary, then this is where to kill them at. So here there is a chest, but to open the chest, you need the blue necklace equipped, because it is trapped and it will warp you. Fortunately, it will not warp you to the jail cell, thank God. It will just warp you to the right outside the room. But yeah, not the blue amulet. The blue amulet does nullify curses, or it's said to at least, but it doesn't work in this case. You need the blue necklace specifically. So open the chest, and there is the battle armor. Let's equip it right away. These enemies are pretty tough. And now let's head back to floor 18. I'm going to get healed here too. Now we can just simply head straight down to the left and in here. To floor 20. On floor 20, I recommend equipping your mirror if you still have any uses left, because once you go past this wall here, these enemies punch it down. These enemies are tough. They are also very, very fast, even with the timer ring equipped. I recommend just using the mirror to freeze them, because they are a pain in the butt otherwise, but if you don't have it, then definitely save your game. So, let's see what's in the place where they just came from. This chest here. And again, these guys are guarding the chest because in Eternal, you have to open the chest from the bottom, so. With the silver sword even, it's pretty slow going. I guess I should have equipped the power ring, but oh well. I believe this is the only place where you can find those chorfs, I believe they were called. So if you want to kill them, then obviously be very careful, first of all, but yeah, this is the only place where you can do that. So, that contains the flame sword, most powerful sword we can get. Now, when you leave, be careful because one of the enemies does like to hang around right outside, so you see how fast they're moving? Yeah. They can kill you pretty easily if they want to, so be careful there. Floor 21 is another mirror maze. This mirror maze is pretty simple. There's nothing to get. We just need to make our way to the end of it is all. So down to the right here. This mirror here. We have a choice. Take the mirror on the left. This enemy is kind of a pain in the butt. When you take the mirror on the left, this enemy at the bottom will try to kind of troll you, so watch out for him. Over here, through this door. Save your game, get healed up if you need to, and enter the mirror. Make sure you have the flame sword equipped, preferably the battle shield and battle armor as well, because we have another boss coming. And this one is pretty tough. So, right off the bat, the twin heads will rush you. On hard and nightmare they'll do that. On easy and normal I don't think they will, but on nightmare it's a bit of a nasty surprise. Anyways, to damage this boss we need the flame sword equipped, and we also need to attack this head with the yellow head with the blue projectiles. We cannot damage the blue head with the orange projectiles. So, to damage this boss, you need to time it really carefully. So, you need to kind of weave in between the projectiles. You'll want to note which way the projectiles are going, because when you deal damage, the head swap places, and so do the rotation of the projectiles. So counterclockwise and clockwise. Now what you can also do is, when the heads are crossed together like that, if you're feeling bold, what you can do is do several consecutive hits when they're crossed together, because each time you damage the boss, then the head swap places, so when they cross paths you can just kind of wiggle back and forth and deal a few hits. But because of the projectiles, it is a pretty risky strategy, but if you're feeling up for it, then by all means give it a try. However, that is only a strategy I would recommend at the beginning of the fight, because it is likely to backfire. So I also recommend approaching the heads from the bottom, heading straight up. I feel it's easier to avoid damage that way, but up to you what you want to do. So we got 4 projectiles surrounding them now, but once we do a certain amount of damage, they get 3 projectiles. Once you get them down to 3 projectiles, the fight becomes significantly easier. The projectiles do move faster and faster as the fight goes on, but once they're down projectiles, it gets easier in my opinion. The 2 projectile phase can be a little bit tougher, but still not too bad. One projectile, you can see that they're moving pretty fast, but still a lot easier to avoid taking damage now. And that is the Twin Heads boss, Yoglix and Emulgun. With that, the big mirror shatters, so let's see where that goes. If you don't have the blue amulet at this point, I guess I'll show the way back through the mirror maze. Those 2 mirrors, and then this mirror up here. And yeah, there are no enemies here for some reason after killing the boss. If you do a screen refresh, then the enemies will be back, but for some reason they are gone now, so that's kind of handy. So yeah, that's how to get back through the mirror maze if you need to backtrack to loot a gemma. Okay, let's see where that big mirror led to. This door here, this is where we need the blue amulet from Ludogema. If you do not have it, you will get sent flying back. And once that happens, if you speak to Raba back on floor 13, I think it is, he will say that he saw Ludogema with the amulet similar to his necklace, but that he thinks Luda's amulet is stronger, and so that's how you know that you need to go and see Luda for it. Okay, this glowing warp symbol takes us to the final boss. This guy, the man in the black cape, Dark Fact. So, remember what Rhea said? We need items made of Claria to defeat him. So, what is Claria? If you've been paying attention, you will notice that silver items have been stolen all throughout the game. Even as we explored the tower, we got caught in the jail cell. Our silver items were stolen from us then too, so someone really doesn't want us to have them for some reason. And that is because this guy, Dark Fact, fears them. So make sure that you equip them, all three of them, the silver sword especially. The silver shield and silver armor you technically don't need, but they do provide better defense than the battle armor and the battle shield in this case. So when you're ready, heal up if you need to, and step inside the glowing warp symbol. So apparently he wants the 6 books of Ys for the power they supposedly contain. And I was going to explain it before the fight started, but I forgot. Hopefully I'll survive here. I'll explain after the fight here. Okay. So, to defeat Dark Fact, you first need the silver equipment, the sword especially. When you attack him, he will make a hole appear directly where you attacked him. That hole will make a piece of the platform crumble, and if you are caught there, instant death. So, be sure to keep on the move. And he also fires a bunch of fireballs, so you'll want to keep on the move regardless. But since the platform is constantly crumbling, it makes the fight pretty difficult. Because eventually, if you're not careful, you get boxed in. So what you want to do is, the best strategy is to attack them along the edges so you don't get boxed in. However, because the fireballs are so much and the fight goes by pretty fast anyways, I recommend at the beginning of the fight attacking him consecutively. That will cause a few holes to form right at the beginning. It does increase your chances that the fight will become unwinnable, that you might accidentally box yourself in. However, it is a quick way to deal damage to him. And so I like to, at the beginning of the fight, go like this, attack him a few times, and then from there, attack him along the edges as best I can. In general, I do not recommend attacking him consecutively, because, yeah, it's likely to screw you over in the end, but yeah, this fight is pretty difficult on Nightmare, especially your first time through, but with the strategy I just described, I feel it has a higher rate of success. And I know he's a pain in the butt, but he does move the same way each time, so as long as you know where he moves and you can predict it and be in place to hit him quickly. So just keep trying if you're having trouble, and yeah, don't be surprised if it takes you a while. So here, dark fact, his cape here. What's that under the cape? The last book of Ys. Let's equip the monocle and read it. Volume fact. Suddenly, in the new light of the rising sun, his siege stopped. No one knows why it happened. But the end of the suffering, and the people sealed away the power of Ys. They sealed it away within the 6 books. So whoever collects them all will become a guide. It then goes on to say, but be careful, you who are reading this. If you use the power contained within the books, if you use that for evil, then you will be consumed by evil. So, Dark Fact here obviously had this book, and he did not heed its advice. He was consumed by evil. Dark Fact actually, his backstory is not really explained, but if I remember right, in bonus materials, his parents were miners back in Hysteria. His parents opposed the mining of silver. People had wanted to mine it, but his parents were strictly opposed to it, and the people that had wanted to mine it apparently got so mad that they killed his parents in cold blood. So that's what caused Dark Fact to turn to the ways of evil. So, pretty curious side story regarding him. But now that we have read all 6 books of Ys, looks like their power is coming to life. And that is the end of Ys 1. So, I don't know if you guys could see it, but at the end of that monologue, at the top of the screen, there was something visible up in the sky. So, what could that be? We will find out in Ys 2. Adol apparently got teleported somewhere else. So, that's the end of Ys 1. Very difficult game, on Nightmare difficulty anyways. But it is, along with Ys 2, probably my 2 favorite games in the series. So, very fun combat system. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but once you do, I feel it is very, very intuitive. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like button-style combat of later entries like Origin and Felgana, but there's something to be said for playing the game with one hand, so very fun. Darm Tower, I honestly did not find that to be too tough compared to the mines. The mines, probably the most difficult dungeon in the game. And once you get past that, Darm Tower does have its fair share of trouble. Consklard, Yoglix and Emulgun, the twin heads, and Darkfact in particular. Those can be troublesome, but yeah, in general, I feel like the tower is actually easier than the mine, but Darkfact, he is a pain in the butt if you do not know what you're getting yourself into, and so that, along with the Golian, is the reason that I recommend that your first playthrough of this game not be on Nightmare difficulty, because a lot of players just kind of get walled once they reach Darkfact, and Vigolian too, but Darkfact in particular, he's very frustrating, so anyways, I am going to show off the rest of the bonus stuff in the next bonus episode before I move on to Ys 2. So there's not a whole lot to show off for Darm Tower in particular, but there is some stuff after you beat the game. In Complete Upwards, there is a time attack mode that unlocks after you beat the game. I'm not going to bother showing it off, it's just your typical time attack, doing the bosses in order, one right after the other. I believe it's set to normal difficulty for Ys 1 though, you don't get a difficulty selection. There is something special in the Eternal version of the game, which I will show off in the bonus video though. It's exclusive to that version. But that wraps up Ys 1's main story. Once I release the bonus episode, I might take a bit of a break from the games, because this one did kind of start to wear on me, the mines in particular. But we'll see how I feel. Anyways, next up is the bonus episode, the last one for Ys 1, and then I will move on to Ys 2. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this playthrough. Thank you very much for watching.